Hello, I am Tammy Marshall. Today I'm going to share with you Chapter 2 of the Clearwater House. If you haven't yet viewed the prologue and Chapter 1, you might want to do that before you listen to Chapter 2, but by all means, you're welcome to listen to Chapter 2 and then go back and listen to those. This is my very first novel. I do have four out. Please check in the comment section below for my website to learn all about my other books. So, this is Chapter 2 of The Clearwater House. As Lillian entered her apartment that evening, she noticed the message light of her answering machine was blinking. She tossed her keys into an oddly shaped, bright yellow and orange ceramic bowl she'd made in junior high for her father to put his spare change. Each evening, he'd deposit his day's change in the bowl, and each morning he'd remove all but the pennies, leaving them for his beloved Lillian to gather up and put into her piggy bank. Now, the bowl held a place of honor on the entryway table, where it continued to be the repository of spare change, plus extra gum, a lucky marble, and Lillian's keys. She pushed the playback button. As she figured, the message was from Brad. His voice, tinged with annoyance, filled the room. "Hey, it's me. You must be working late." A heavy sigh. "Again. Call me when you get home, whenever that might be." She rolled her eyes at his obvious sarcasm and reached for the phone. As she lifted the receiver to her ear, she changed her mind and quickly replaced it. "He can wait. I don't feel like dealing with him right now." She picked up the file and carried it to the couch, where she sat down with her feet tucked up beside her, switched on the reading lamp, and leaned against the arm to get a better view. With a deep breath, she opened the folder. The first thing to greet her eyes was an assessor's description of the property. She skipped past that and came upon a detailed description of how to get to Clearwater from Omaha. She chuckled. "Well, I certainly don't need that, do I, Mr. McHale? But thank you for the consideration." Flipping the page, she saw a large black and white photo of the front of the house. "Oh my God," she said under her breath. "It's wonderful." It wasn't exactly wonderful, and very clearly was run down and in need of some tender, loving care. But to her, it was enchanting. The front porch, spanning the full width of the house, was its most pleasing attribute, and the small attic balcony attached to a shuttered window under a steeply pitched roof held much appeal to her also. There were a number of shade trees surrounding the house, and what appeared to be a lilac bush cozying up to one end of the porch. "I love the smell of lilacs," she said to the empty apartment. She tried to imagine what rooms must be behind each window. Surely the front door opened upon an entryway with perhaps a dining room or a small sitting room to the left, and a larger formal parlor room to the right. Behind these, she was certain she'd find a kitchen and some sort of a laundry room or a large pantry. The entryway most likely led to a staircase that would be rather steep, considering this was not a large house. Upstairs would probably be 4 to 5 small bedrooms, and maybe a bathroom if the house had been remodeled since its construction. The staircase would have to continue up, as there clearly was an attic. Despite her initial shock and uncertainty, she found herself beginning to grow excited at the prospect of owning a home in the country. Perhaps she could slip away to it frequently and gain inspiration for her paintings. Maybe she could take all of her paintings there and pass a week or more at a time on them, She had that vacation time coming up, so maybe. The ringing of the telephone jolted her from her reverie. Irritated at the intrusion, she briskly answered it. "Hello?" There was an edge to her voice. "Hello to you, too," Brad replied from the other end. "So you are home. Did you get my message?" He sounded a little put out. "Yes, I did." Trying to be pleasant, she apologized. "Sorry I hadn't returned your call yet, but I've been busy." "Too busy for me?" The whining quality of his voice caused Lillian to cringe outwardly. "What's more important than me?" Lillian thought to herself, "Lately, everything." But instead she said, "Why don't you come over and I'll show you?" "Okay, I'll be right up," he said brightly. "Right up? Where are you?" Look out the window, he replied. She leaned over the arm of the couch, pulled aside the curtain, and saw him sitting across the street, waving from his Mustang. Weakly, she returned his wave. Then she let the curtain drop and shook her head. How long have you been sitting out there? She rubbed her forehead and closed her eyes to relax her nerves. I just got here, he reassured her. Thought I'd call and see if you were home yet before I came up. Lillian took a deep breath. Well, I'm here. I'm going to freshen up, but I'll leave the door unlocked for you. They hung up, and after unlocking the door, she retreated to the momentary sanctuary of her bedroom to change from her slacks and blouse into something more casual. She selected a pair of jeans, thick socks, and her favorite paint-splashed blue sweatshirt, partly because she loved wearing it, and partly because Brad hated it. She paused a moment to consider her motivation, and then shrugged. She had to admit that she cared for Brad, but lately he was more of a thorn in her side than he was a lover. He had an obsessive side to him that was becoming more and more evident. Getting away from him and this city for a few days while she checked out the house would definitely do her some good, she thought. As she was brushing her hair into a ponytail, she heard Brad enter the apartment. Like usual, he was whistling, a habit that could be both endearing and irritating, considering her mood. At the sound, she felt herself stiffen, bracing for the inevitable encounter. Emerging from the bedroom, she found him standing in front of her refrigerator, rummaging around inside before pulling out a Diet Cola. He felt her presence before he saw her and said, "Remind me to stock a 6-pack of beer in there so I have something to drink when I'm here." He popped the tab, took a swig, and turned toward her. Lillian noticed the immediate look of displeasure in his eyes when they alighted on her sweatshirt. "Well, you big alcoholic, there is a bottle of white wine in there, you know," she teased as she walked to him. She gave him a light kiss and could taste the cola on his upper lip. "Wine? Ugh, you know I hate wine." "Yes, I know, but I keep trying to win you over to the better things in life." She busied herself getting a glass of ice water with a lemon wedge, her favorite of all beverages, and one that helped her maintain her health and good complexion. Brad put his arm around her waist and whispered, "I have you, so I've already been won over by the best thing in life." She smiled up at him. Sometimes he knew how to say the right thing, even if it was just a line. "Thanks," she replied. She moved away from him toward the couch. "Come here, and I'll show you what was keeping me so busy before you called." "Oh, yeah. Where is he so I can break his legs?" Brad joked, following her, yet pretending to look in and under furniture for a secret hidden lover. "Don't be silly," she said as she patted the couch cushion beside her. "Sit down." He did, and she opened the file folder, showing him the photo of the house. Seeing it again brought a sudden smile to her lips. "I just found out today that I've inherited a house and a few acres in the country." Not paying much attention to the photo or to Lillian's joy-filled face as he adjusted the large couch cushion to fit more comfortably against his lower back, he casually said, "Inherited? From whom? Your parents have been dead a long time, right?" Lillian felt a stab of intense pain in her heart at the reminder of their tragic deaths and increased irritation with Brad for bringing it up. "Yes," she said, her tone full of exasperation. "I've inherited it from a woman that I don't even know, but that somehow knows me." She went on to explain the events of her meeting with Mr. McHale. At the end, she said, "I'm driving out there tomorrow to check it out." "By yourself?" Brad asked, a frown wrinkling his brow. "Yes, of course. I'm perfectly capable of looking the place over for myself." Knowing he would try to talk her out of it or invite himself to go along, she reminded him, "Plus, you have to work on Saturdays." He looked doubtful. "I could probably get off this one time," he offered. "Don't be silly." She forced a slight smile to her lips, trying to act as if she appreciated the offer even when she didn't. She wanted to get away from things for a few days, and unfortunately, he was one of those things. "I'll be fine. I know the area, and I can visit my grandfather while I'm there. And I don't want you tagging along forcing me to be someone I'm not and criticizing every little imperfection in the house," she continued to herself. "Where will you stay?" There are a few hotels in the area that will appreciate the business, or if it's habitable, I'll sleep there. She held up the photo of the house. I have a much neglected sleeping bag in my closet. Brad looked appalled. You've got to be kidding. Why not? Along with all these directions on how to find the place is a description of the location of the key. She pointed to a paragraph. Apparently, it's inside a window box by the back door. She smiled at the simplicity and trusting quality of that until she caught Brad eyeing her questioningly. You're pretty happy about this, he observed. She shrugged. Well, it is rather exciting, don't you think? Just as long as you don't go moving off to the boonies and leave me behind. She didn't answer. Instead, she closed the folder, stood, and announced, I'm hungry. Shall we make something here or go out? Oh, let's go have some heroes, he announced. Greek food, huh? All right, that sounds good. I'll grab a jacket. She walked toward her bedroom. He called after her. Could you change your shirt also? Laughing back at him from the hallway, Lillian agreed. All right, but you'll have to spring for dessert too. It's a deal, he replied, the joy of knowing that she was taking off that ugly old sweatshirt apparent in his voice. Thanks for joining me. Again, if you have been enjoying the Clearwater House, you can get your copy from Amazon. It's also available as an ebook. And if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, you can read it that way as well. And please click on my website link in the comment section. And thank you for joining me. Please watch my other videos too.